90-day fiancé crisis, Hannah's brain bleed, Armando's visa deadline, and the family's growing financial pressure. A 13-year-old girl is recovering after a terrifying brain bleed. Her father raced against the immigration system just to reach her hospital bedside. Her family has been forced to live temporarily in Phoenix while doctors continue searching for answers. Rehabilitation, medical transportation, housing, legal support, and ongoing treatment have created enormous pressure. And now, just as Hannah is beginning to rebuild her strength, another deadline is approaching. Armando Niedermeyer Rubio may soon be required to leave the United States and return to Mexico, even though his daughter's recovery is far from complete. For one of the most beloved families in the 90-Day Fiancé franchise, this is no longer simply a health update. It has become a painful race, involving a child's recovery, a father's expiring humanitarian permission, mounting expenses, and the possibility that the family could once again be separated. The most frightening part is that nobody appears able to say exactly how long Hannah's recovery will take. Doctors can create treatment plans, therapists can help her rebuild strength, lawyers can submit requests, supporters can donate and pray, but a brain injury does not follow an immigration deadline. And according to the latest public updates, Armando's current permission to remain in the United States reportedly runs only through August 27, 2026. That date is now hanging over the family, while Hannah continues rehabilitation in Arizona. So what exactly happened to Hannah? Why did she need to be transported from Mexico to Phoenix? Why was Armando initially unable to travel with his daughter? How much pressure is the family facing while living away from home? And what could happen when Armando's time in the United States runs out? Here is everything we currently know about this deeply emotional 90-day fiancé family crisis. The emergency began when Hannah suddenly developed symptoms that no parent could safely ignore. Reports described weakness in parts of her body and visible drooping on one side of her face. These symptoms can indicate a serious neurological emergency, so the family urgently sought medical attention. Hannah was eventually transferred for specialized treatment in Phoenix, Arizona. Doctors discovered that she had suffered a brain bleed. For Armando and Kenny, those words must have been almost impossible to process. One moment, Hannah was living her normal life with her family. The next, she was facing an emergency involving one of the most delicate and complicated organs in the human body. A brain bleed can cause different symptoms depending on its location and severity. In Hannah's case, the publicly reported effects included weakness, facial drooping, difficulty walking, and problems involving her vision. Doctors immediately began working to stabilize her and understand what had happened. However, the medical crisis quickly became an immigration crisis as well. Because the family normally lives in Mexico, transporting Hannah to Phoenix required crossing an international border. Armando reportedly tried to accompany his daughter while she was being transferred for emergency medical treatment, but he was initially unable to enter the United States. Imagine that moment from a father's perspective. Your child is being taken to another country during a dangerous medical emergency. You do not know whether her condition will improve or suddenly become worse. You do not know exactly what doctors will find. You want to hold her hand and tell her that everything will be all right. But instead, you are stopped at the border while your daughter continues toward the hospital without you. Armando later shared his heartbreak publicly. Viewers saw a father who was frightened, overwhelmed, and desperate to reach his child. While Hannah was receiving care in Arizona, Armando was forced to wait for immigration officials to consider his case. Kenny remained with Hannah in the United States, carrying the responsibility of supporting her, while also communicating with Armando, doctors, attorneys, relatives, and worried supporters. The family's legal team worked urgently to obtain temporary humanitarian permission for Armando. Humanitarian entry can sometimes be granted when there is a serious medical emergency or another urgent humanitarian reason. However, approval is discretionary. It is not guaranteed, and it does not automatically provide permanent immigration status. After an agonizing period of uncertainty, Armando reportedly received temporary permission to enter the United States. He was finally able to reunite with Hannah and Kenny in Phoenix. For the family, that reunion was an enormous emotional victory. Hannah could finally see her father beside her. Armando could finally speak directly with the medical team, comfort his daughter, and participate in decisions about her treatment. Kenny no longer had to carry the entire burden alone, but even during that emotional reunion, another clock had already started ticking. Armando's permission was temporary. The emergency approval allowed him to remain with Hannah for a limited period, but it did not guarantee that he could stay until her recovery was complete. The family later received an additional extension. Armando publicly expressed his gratitude, saying that the extension allowed him to remain in Arizona with Hannah while she continued receiving treatment. He thanked immigration officials, his attorney, public representatives, supporters, and everyone who had prayed for Hannah. For a moment, it appeared that the family had gained some breathing room, but the latest reports indicate that Armando's current authorization ends on August 27. Kenny reportedly said the family had been told not to expect additional time to be automatically added. That has created a painful contradiction. Hannah's recovery is still ongoing, but Armando's legal permission has a fixed ending. Doctors and therapists may believe Hannah needs continued support in Phoenix. Armando may believe that leaving his daughter would be emotionally devastating. Kenny may need his husband's help caring for Hannah. Yet, unless another lawful extension or immigration option is approved, Armando could still be required to return to Mexico. And this is where the story becomes even more difficult. Hannah's recovery has not followed a simple, straight path. After spending time in the hospital, she improved enough to be discharged. The family was able to move with her into a temporary residence in the Phoenix area, allowing her to recover outside the hospital while remaining close to specialized medical care. That discharge appeared to be hopeful news. However, the relief was short-lived. Hannah later had to return to the emergency room after suffering another frightening episode. Reports said she experienced severe headaches, weakness, and difficulty walking. The symptoms raised concerns about swelling and possible complications connected to the original brain bleed. Hospital staff evaluated and treated her before she was released again. For her family, that return to the emergency room must have felt like the nightmare was starting all over again. After seeing Hannah leave the hospital, they may have hoped the most dangerous stage was behind them. Then suddenly they were back in an emergency setting, waiting for medical answers and fearing another serious setback. Hannah has since returned to the family's temporary Phoenix residence. According to public updates, she has started physical rehabilitation to rebuild strength, particularly on her right side. She is also reportedly completing exercises designed to improve problems affecting her vision. Kenny has said that Hannah is doing well and that he is extremely proud of her. That is encouraging news. But doing well during rehabilitation does not necessarily mean a child has completely recovered. Neurological rehabilitation can be physically and emotionally demanding. Simple movements that once required no thought may suddenly require intense concentration. Walking can become an exercise. Lifting an arm can become a goal. Maintaining balance can become a daily challenge. Vision problems can affect reading, moving around a room, recognizing objects, or judging distance. Even when progress is visible, a patient may still experience exhaustion, frustration, headaches, weakness, or fear that symptoms could return. Hannah is only 13 years old. She is dealing with medical challenges that would be overwhelming for many adults. Yet public updates describe a young girl who continues participating in therapy and fighting to regain what the brain bleed temporarily took away from her. Her parents have repeatedly expressed pride in her courage, but behind that pride is uncertainty. Doctors are reportedly still investigating what caused the brain bleed. That unanswered question matters because understanding the cause may help determine the possibility of recurrence, what treatment Hannah needs, and how closely she must be monitored in the future. Until doctors identify the underlying reason, the family may continue living with fear. Every headache could feel alarming. Every moment of weakness could raise questions. Every change in vision could bring back memories of the emergency. And while doctors continue investigating, the family must also manage the practical reality of living temporarily in Phoenix. They are away from their permanent home in Mexico. They need housing near Hannah's medical providers. They need transportation to appointments. They may need medication, rehabilitation services, follow-up scans, and specialized consultations. They are also dealing with immigration attorneys and legal procedures connected to Armando's stay. These costs can grow quickly. Medical crises create expenses that extend far beyond a hospital bill. There may be emergency transportation costs, including the specialized flight that brought Hannah to Arizona. There may be temporary housing costs for a family that does not know exactly how long it must remain away from home. There may be food, transportation, parking, medical equipment, prescription, therapy, and legal expenses. There may also be lost working time while parents focus on caring for their child. A fundraising campaign was launched to help the family manage costs connected to Hannah's emergency and treatment. Supporters reportedly contributed a significant amount of money. That public support has clearly been important. However, raising money does not necessarily mean every financial concern disappears. A prolonged medical emergency can consume funds quickly, especially when it involves treatment in another country, temporary housing, rehabilitation, and immigration assistance. At the same time, it would be wrong to claim that Armando and Kenny have publicly confirmed that they are completely broke or unable to pay for Hannah's care. What can responsibly be said is that the family appears to be facing substantial financial and logistical pressure. Their lives have been interrupted. Their home routine has been replaced by hospital visits and rehabilitation appointments. Their future plans depend on medical progress and immigration decisions that they cannot fully control. And the longer Hannah must remain near specialized care, the more those pressures may continue to grow. This is why the approaching August 27 deadline feels so serious. That deadline could force the family to make decisions before they feel emotionally or medically ready. One possibility is that Hannah may improve enough to return to Mexico with Armando, but that decision would need to be guided by her doctors. Travel after a serious neurological emergency is not something a family can safely decide based only on an immigration calendar. Doctors would need to consider Hannah's stability, her rehabilitation needs, the availability of follow-up care, and whether she can safely make the journey. Another possibility is that Hannah remains in Phoenix with Kenny while Armando returns to Mexico. That would allow her to continue receiving care, but it could separate her from her father again during an extremely vulnerable stage of recovery. Armando would have to leave the child he fought so hard to reach. Kenny could become the primary parent managing appointments, rehabilitation, and emotional support in Arizona. Hannah might have to continue therapy while also coping with the pain of another family separation. The family could also continue exploring legal options. Requests involving humanitarian permission may require additional applications, evidence, fees, medical documents, and legal arguments. However, filing a request does not guarantee approval. Even a powerful humanitarian situation can be affected by strict procedures and discretionary decisions. The family has already received one extension, which may make another request more complicated. Kenny's statement that they were told not to expect more time suggests that the family understands another approval may be difficult. Still, circumstances can change, and no one outside the case can know exactly what legal options the family's attorney may be considering. Until an official update is released, viewers should not assume that Armando has already been granted another extension. They should also avoid claiming that he has definitely been ordered to leave on a specific day without any possibility of further legal action. The responsible conclusion is that his present permission reportedly runs through August 27, while the family faces uncertainty about what comes after that date. For viewers, the story is emotional, because Kenny, Armando, and Hannah have shared so much of their family life on television. Kenny and Armando became widely known after appearing on 90 Day Fiancé, The Other Way. Their relationship stood out to many fans because it appeared built on maturity, communication, and genuine affection. Kenny moved to Mexico to build a life with Armando. Viewers watched them navigate cultural differences, family acceptance, marriage plans, and the responsibility of raising Hannah. Kenny also developed a close bond with Hannah. The three of them became one of the franchise's most recognizable family units. That is why the current crisis has affected so many viewers. Fans are not only watching a television personality face immigration trouble, they are watching a father fight to remain beside his injured daughter. They are watching a teenager work through rehabilitation after a frightening neurological emergency. They are watching Kenny try to hold the family together, while medical, legal, and financial pressures continue building. But public attention also comes with responsibility. Hannah is a child. Her medical details should not become entertainment without limits. The family has shared certain information publicly, but there are still many things that remain private. Viewers should not diagnose her condition, invent causes for the brain bleed, or claim that doctors have discovered something that has not been publicly confirmed. The exact cause reportedly remains under investigation. There should also be caution around financial claims. A fundraiser and major expenses clearly indicate financial pressure. But unless the family states that it cannot afford treatment or has run out of money, those claims should not be presented as confirmed news. The truth is already dramatic enough. A child suffered a brain bleed. She required specialized emergency care. Her father was initially separated from her by immigration restrictions. The family had to fight for humanitarian permission. She was discharged, returned to the emergency room, and then began rehabilitation. Her father's current permission is approaching its expiration date. Doctors are still searching for the cause. The family is living temporarily away from home, while managing treatment, housing, transportation, legal procedures, and emotional stress. Nothing needs to be invented to understand how serious this story is. One of the most powerful parts of this situation is the difference between two kinds of time. The immigration system measures time through dates, forms, and expiration periods. The medical system measures time through symptoms, scans, stability, and progress. For immigration officials, August 27 may be the end of an authorized period. For Hannah's body, August 27 may be just another day in a much longer rehabilitation process. She may wake up stronger that morning. She may also wake up tired, frustrated, or struggling with a symptom she handled better the day before. Recovery does not move according to paperwork. This is what makes Armando's position so painful. He is not asking to remain in the United States for tourism or convenience. His daughter is receiving medical treatment. He wants to remain beside her until she is stable and ready for the next stage of recovery. At the same time, humanitarian permission is temporary by definition. Officials must apply laws and procedures, while the family hopes their circumstances will continue to receive compassionate consideration. There are no easy villains in this story. There is only a family caught between a medical emergency and an immigration deadline. Armando's presence may also be important for reasons that go beyond practical caregiving. When a child experiences a traumatic health emergency, emotional security can become extremely important. Hannah was transported away from her home and placed in an unfamiliar hospital environment. She faced tests, equipment, medications, and conversations about her body that may have been frightening or difficult to understand. During part of that experience, her father could not be there. When Armando finally arrived, he was able to provide something no medical machine could offer: the comfort of a familiar parent. He could encourage Hannah when rehabilitation became difficult. He could remind her of the progress she had already made. He could sit beside her during moments of fear. He could help her feel like a daughter rather than only a patient. Kenny has been providing that support as well, but caring for a recovering child can exhaust even the strongest parent. Having both fathers present allows them to share responsibilities and support each other. If Armando must leave, the emotional burden on everyone could increase. Kenny may have to manage more of the daily care alone. Armando may experience guilt and helplessness from Mexico. Hannah may feel abandoned even though she understands that her father did not choose to leave. That possibility is one reason fans are watching every update so closely. Many are hoping the family finds a legal and medically safe solution before the deadline. Others are hoping Hannah improves enough that the entire family can return home together. But it is still too early to know which outcome is possible. For now, the family appears focused on daily progress. Rehabilitation is often built around small victories. A patient may regain a little more strength. A movement may become easier. Balance may improve. Vision exercises may begin producing results. A walk across a room may become possible with less assistance. These achievements may look small to an outsider, but for a recovering patient, they can represent enormous progress. Hannah's parents have emphasized how proud they are of her. Their words suggest that she is approaching recovery with determination. Still, there may be difficult days ahead. Rehabilitation can feel repetitive and slow. A teenager may become frustrated when she cannot immediately return to the activities she enjoyed before the emergency. She may worry about school, friends, independence, and whether her body will feel normal again. This is where family support and professional guidance become crucial. The family must celebrate progress without creating pressure. They must remain hopeful while understanding that recovery may not follow a predictable schedule. They must listen to doctors, while also paying attention to Hannah's emotional needs. At the same time, Armando and Kenny must make decisions about housing, money, travel, immigration, and their future. That is an extraordinary amount of responsibility for any family. Public support has helped them feel less alone. Fans have donated, sent messages, shared prayers, and spread awareness of the situation. Armando has repeatedly thanked those who have supported Hannah. For viewers who have followed this family for years, helping may feel personal. They watched Hannah grow. They watched Kenny become part of her life. They watched Armando build a future centered around protecting his daughter and creating a stable family. Now they are watching that stability tested by circumstances nobody could have planned for. There is also a broader lesson in this story. A medical emergency can expose how quickly ordinary life can collapse. Family may have a home, a routine, and future plans one day. Within hours, they may be traveling to another country, speaking with specialists, searching for temporary housing, contacting attorneys, and asking strangers for help. This does not necessarily mean the family failed to prepare. Some emergencies are simply too large and too sudden for any ordinary plan. Hannah's brain bleed appears to have changed everything at once. The family's immediate priority became keeping her alive and getting her the best available care. Every other concern had to come second. But as the emergency entered a longer recovery phase, those postponed concerns returned. How long could they remain in Phoenix? Who would pay for ongoing expenses? Could Armando stay legally? Where would Hannah complete rehabilitation? Would doctors clear her to travel? What would happen if symptoms returned? Could the family return to Mexico safely? These questions do not have simple answers. The latest reports offer both hope and concern. The hopeful news is that Hannah is no longer reported to be in intensive care. She is staying with her family. She is participating in rehabilitation. She is working on rebuilding strength and improving her vision. Kenny has described her progress positively. The concerning news is that the cause of the brain bleed reportedly remains unclear. Her recovery is incomplete. She has already experienced at least one setback that required another emergency room visit, and the expiration date on Armando's stay is approaching. The family therefore remains in a fragile position. One encouraging week does not erase the possibility of future complications. One visa extension does not guarantee another. One successful fundraiser does not eliminate every cost. One discharge from the hospital does not mean treatment is finished. This is why the next update could be extremely important. The family may announce more information about Hannah's rehabilitation. Doctors may identify what caused the brain bleed. Armando may receive clarity about his immigration status. The family may reveal whether Hannah can return to Mexico or must continue receiving care in Arizona. Until then, speculation should be clearly separated from confirmed information. There is no confirmed evidence that Hannah has fully recovered. There is no confirmed report that Armando has received permission to remain beyond August 27. There is no confirmed statement that the family has completely run out of money. There is also no confirmed public explanation for the exact cause of Hannah's medical emergency. What is confirmed through the family's public updates and reporting is serious enough. Hannah experienced a brain bleed and required intensive medical treatment. Armando initially faced difficulties entering the United States. He later received temporary humanitarian permission and an extension. Hannah returned to emergency care after a setback. She is now completing rehabilitation while staying with her family in Phoenix. Armando's current authorization reportedly expires on August 27. The family continues facing medical, emotional, legal, housing, and financial pressure. For Armando, every remaining day in Phoenix is precious. It is another day to help Hannah with her recovery, another day to sit beside her, another day to attend appointments, another day to encourage her through difficult exercises, another day for the three of them to remain together. But it is also another day closer to the deadline. This may be the most emotionally difficult part of the entire situation. The family cannot simply enjoy Hannah's progress. Every positive moment exists beside the possibility of another separation. Every therapy session moves Hannah forward, while the calendar moves Armando toward August 27. Every day creates hope and anxiety at the same time. Armando and Kenny have already demonstrated how hard they are willing to fight for Hannah. They sought specialized medical treatment, they navigated emergency transportation, they worked with attorneys and officials, they appealed for public support. They stayed beside Hannah through hospitalization, discharge, another emergency visit, and rehabilitation. Now, the family must continue fighting without knowing exactly where the finish line is. The most responsible hope is not for a dramatic television ending. It is for Hannah to receive the time and care she needs. It is for doctors to discover what caused the bleed. It is for her strength and vision to continue improving. It is for the family to find a lawful solution that avoids unnecessary separation. And it is for financial pressure not to interfere with medical decisions. Hannah's health must remain the central issue. Immigration, money, public attention, and television fame are all surrounding factors. But at the center of everything is a 3-year-old girl trying to recover. She deserves privacy, patience, accurate reporting, and the support of the people who love her. The coming weeks may determine what happens next. Will Hannah become medically ready to return home? Will Armando's legal team pursue another request? Will officials reconsider the family's circumstances? Will Kenny and Hannah remain temporarily in Phoenix while Armando returns to Mexico? Or will the family find another path that allows them to stay together? At this moment, those questions remain unanswered. But one thing is clear. This family's crisis did not end when Hannah left intensive care. It did not end when Armando crossed the border. It did not end when the fundraiser received support. And it did not end when Hannah returned home from her second hospital visit. The crisis has simply entered a new stage. The emergency is now becoming a long recovery. The border fight is now becoming a deadline. The immediate shock is now becoming sustained financial and emotional pressure. And the family's greatest fear may no longer be only what happened to Hannah. It may also be what happens if her recovery takes longer than Armando is legally allowed to remain beside her. For now, Hannah continues doing the difficult work of healing. Armando and Kenny continue supporting her. Doctors continue searching for answers. Attorneys may continue studying available options. And supporters around the world continue hoping that the next headline brings relief rather than another emergency. Hannah has already survived an experience that would frighten anyone. She has endured hospitalization, neurological symptoms, separation from her father, another emergency room visit, and the beginning of rehabilitation. Her journey is not finished, but neither is her determination. The family's story is painful, but it also shows the extraordinary lengths parents will go to protect their child. Armando fought through an immigration barrier to reach Hannah. Kenny stayed with her while the family was divided. Together, they are now helping her rebuild her strength one day at a time. As August 27 approaches, the family needs more than attention. They need clarity, they need compassion, they need a medically safe plan. Most of all, Hannah needs stability while her brain and body continue healing. The world will be watching for the next update, but behind every headline, deadline, and television connection is a child who deserves the chance to recover without another traumatic separation. For Armando and Kenny, that is the only outcome that truly matters. Until more official information becomes available, viewers should continue hoping for Hannah's recovery while avoiding rumors or exaggerated claims. Her reported improvement is encouraging. Her ongoing rehabilitation is a sign of progress. But the unanswered medical questions and Armando's approaching visa deadline mean the family's struggle is not over. The coming days could bring new legal options, new medical answers, or another difficult decision. For now, Armando remains in Phoenix with his daughter. He is using the limited time he has to support her healing. And as the clock continues counting down, one question is becoming impossible to ignore. Will Hannah recover enough for the family to return home together before August 27? Or will Armando be forced to leave his daughter while she is still fighting to regain her strength? Only time and the family's next official update will reveal the answer.